So where's the bottle? This bottle has to be right in front, right here. This is what we're tasting right here. Newfound wines. Now let's focus right there. Great. So Newfound wines. When did you guys start this? This was 2016?
Yeah, exactly. We started in 2016, and we started with a piece of land.
Yeah.
That's how we started. We found this incredible vineyard, actually through Matt's aunt. Yeah, Matt's aunt, who was a real estate agent, and we were having lunch with her, and she was showing Matt a listing that one of her friends had up, and she was sort of like, "What do you think? Like, do you think this is, what is your assessment of like the price, the piece of land?" And
she wasn't trying to sell you on it.
No,
she was just like, "Is this a?"
Yeah, she's a real estate agent. Okay. Yeah, and so Matt looked at it and he was just like, "This is unbelievable." This was in fact like less than what our house would have been in Napa, and it was a 40-acre piece of land with a bonded winery and potential to put up about 16 acres in. Mm-hmm. So that is how Newfound started. It was we both have had 20 years in the wine industry, and
your aunt. It was your aunt.
It was Matt's.
Oh, Matt's aunt. Mm-hmm. Oh my God! So she was like, that. This was not intended for you guys, but when you guys saw it, you were like, okay, this is definitely a good opportunity. For us. And you guys felt like the time was right to start something on your own, or?
Yeah, we were thinking about it. It was up for discussion, and I think when we started Newfound, I wasn't at least in my mind like I didn't want to just be a brand and be a label. I wanted to have something tangibly associated with it, and have a piece of property that was a part of the entire winery existence.
Yeah.
So, my background, I worked at Fela for many years, and the farming component and the period that I spent farming there really planted a big seed in me that it's like I knew at some point in my life I wanted to get back to that and be in the more agricultural part of the business, and that's how it kind of began. So when my aunt had came to us with this opportunity, not that she was coming to us with an opportunity, like said, "Hey, like, what do you think of this property? Does that seem like a good price?" I was like, "This place looks incredible." So that was that was the start.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
But the property is not in Napa, right? Where?
It's the Sierra Foothills, so it's El Dorado County, and it's about 25 minutes southwest of Placerville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's really not a whole heck of a lot around there. The closest landmark is like the Somerset Post Office, right?
Yeah.
And so it was, it was quite an undertaking. And, Matt had a lot more experience in farming than I ever had. So I didn't really know the extent of what we were getting into. But yeah, it was quite an undertaking. We didn't get our first fruit from the property until 2024, but we purchased in 2016.
Oh wow! Okay, so because I was going to say it's the 10th anniversary of Newfound.
It is the 10th anniversary.
It's the 10th anniversary, but it took a while to plant the.
Fully develop, yeah. There were a number of fits and starts. One, there was 5 acres in the property when we purchased it, and it was heavily virused. Kind of past the point of recovery.
Yeah.
So it was either kind of limp through and just like maybe harvest like a very, very small amount of tonnage off of like what was existing, or to tear it out and start fresh. Yeah. So we tore that part. So we decided to tear the vineyard out, start from scratch. And then, you learn the...
It's been painful. No, I mean, that's...
It was crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you start to understand like the reason for the term force majeure and acts of God, and because we experience many acts of God kind of like throughout that whole process that are just like parts of just agriculture that you just come to accept, and that there's certain things that are out of your control. Yeah. So one of which was we had a 33-inch rainfall over the course of 4 days. I happened to be in Europe at the time, but shortly after grading, doing all the kind of terraforming on the vineyard after tearing out the previous vineyard and then ripping everything. We had this massive rainfall like 6 months after the fact. And everything was erosion controlled, tied down, buckled down, but there's really nothing was going to stop it. So we had a little bit of a landslide that year, and that just ended up pushing the project back further along. And these are things you just don't really plan for, and it just kind of is. It is what it is.
But were you were working at your respective jobs during this, or was? Okay.
Yeah, we well, interestingly enough, when we bought it in 2016, Matt was at Fela and I was at Hourglass, and we weren't married. We got married in 2018. So we kind of, we really committed.
This is a serious commitment. How did you both meet? You guys met just in the wine. I mean, what I noticed about Napa is that it's an amazing, tightly knit wine community. I'm not surprised that most people end up marrying each other, or not the. It's like in when I was a swimmer in high school, we would call it swim cest, because all the swimmers were just like going out or dating each other and all that. Yeah. But it's sort of like the wine community might be.
Yes,
like that.
It was. Well, we had a mutual friend, a friend of. I was living in New York when we met and working with Hourglass, and Matt was here, and we had a mutual friend who connected us in the lobby of a hotel in Dallas, and it was in Texas. And so isn't that funny?
Oh my God.
And we had many friends in common, but we had never met before.
You were at Hourglass, but you were working in farming or with marketing?
Marketing.
Okay.
I was doing distribution, so I was working in the wholesale, mostly in East Coast. So I was living in New York.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so they had me out there. We're kind of working all across the country, but focused on the East Coast, and that was really fun. So we met, and I had always really wanted to come back to Napa, so it was.
You missed it.
Yeah, it was great. It was great to come back, and
Amazing. Did you think you would be with someone in the wine community? Like, was it?
I don't know. Yeah, I hadn't given. I guess so. I mean, that's it, right? That's
it's kind of low-hanging fruit.
Thanks a lot.
So you guys met in the hotel lobby in Texas, and went from there. What year was that?
Yeah, that was 2014, the end of 2014.
End of 2014, and you were at Fela then, or okay, got it.
Yeah. Yep. I was working in sales at Fela at the time, because when I started at Fela, I was in production, and for the first like half of my time there, I was there for about a decade, and then the second half, I moved over into managing the national sales program and moving into general management of the winery. So at that point, I was kind of in that sales general management period where we ended up meeting. Yeah,
a triple threat.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Like starting Newfound. I mean, I don't know if it's just you two or if you have a whole team, but like it's. I love these beautiful stories of we were just talking about with sounds with Jason and Lauren just starting something together. It's. I don't know, it's a big part of your relationship, your everyday, right? You go home and you're together and you go through the bad days, right? And the good ones too. But it seems like you're having more and more good ones, because everyone I talk to is talking about this wine. And I'm gonna be honest with my listeners right now, this is my first time trying the wine.
Exciting.
It's all just listening, but I put my nose into the glass, and what I smell and what I taste is something very, very different. And what attracted me to this program, or to your wine, was just that you're growing Grenache, Mourvedre, you're growing Chenin Blanc. These are different grapes. And to most people, they think Napa, or they even think California in general. And I know this isn't Napa, and they think Cabernet, 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 Cabernet. When you guys got this, what made you think, let's not automatically gravitate to the default ambition of Cabernet. Let's see what we can do here. Was it the soils? Was it your particular love for the Rhone Valley? Well, what was that about?
It was a combination of the two. One, honestly, like Audra was a big influence on this, because I remember when we purchased the property, and kind of go through all the research of like what exactly what's going to make sense at this place, and what is it that like. I personally always wanted to be involved with, what we personally wanted to be involved with. And on some levels, like I was really interested in kind of exploring, some of the more alpine varieties, in like the eastern part of France. And Audra's like, this spot is Mediterranean, and this is what we should be thinking about. And just oddly enough, it was just, I don't know, it was almost kismet, because a big part of my background, some of the first people that I worked with in the wine industry were winemakers from the south of France. Yeah. And I lived with them for, over the course of a year, and I spent a lot of time in the south.
South of France, or are we talking?
Provence.
Provence, okay.
Yeah, Provence, Languedoc, Roussillon, but mostly like in and around Provence, around Avignon.
Yeah.
And one of my closest friends, like I consider him a brother, even though like we'll see each other once every 5 years, but like nothing's ever, it's like time hasn't passed when we get together.
I love those relationships.
And, when we were working together kind of in the very, very early days of my winemaking career, Grenache was always on the table, because it was what I could afford to drink, and it's what we could afford to drink at that point in our lives. Like I was 23, 24 years old, and just kind of like starting my wine journey, and just, specifically Grenache from the south of France and from Spain were like just these common wines that we would always have. Yeah. And then just my connection through friendships to the area, just, it made sense. And it's like, when I was just like, Mediterranean varieties up here make perfect sense. I'm like, absolutely. Yeah. This makes all the sense in the world. And from that point forward, like with our first relationship, we started sourcing fruit from a vineyard up on Mount Veeder that was owned by Boz Skaggs. And Boz had Grenache, Mourvèdre, and Syrah. And that was just a serendipitous introduction from a bookkeeper. And when we were introduced to Boz, we still didn't have any plans. Like we weren't actually even planning on making wine. We were planning on developing our vineyard and just starting from scratch. Yeah. And then there was this introduction, and here are these varieties that he has, and then the rest is kind of history. So then the road was kind of paved like for us pretty early, but it looking back and kind of like specifically my timeline, everything just kind of makes sense for what we're doing. Yeah. So it's more of your life story, right? We're starting Grenache was kind of your entry there, and Grenache is one of those super special grapes. I think it's just, you have these high alcohol Grenaches from Priorat, right, which are like terroir à limite or something like that. And then you have just Grenaches that are super light, like Commando G in Spain and Gredos. And just it's a really interesting grape to work with. What are for you like the key components of Grenache? Like if you could define Grenache to someone, how would you do that? Right? Is it like Pinot? Do you even compare it to other grapes? Right? Like what's Grenache to you? Yeah,
I think that we have said, I mean, to simplify it for folks, sometimes I'm like, it is a more rugged version of Pinot Noir. I also feel like, with like Matt's background too, working with Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, I think the approach is so, it's like really elegant, really sort of this obviously low touch, but just like the way of approaching it is kind of like coasting out like the nuance in I must have Chardonnay and Grenache, and allowing like, it's like these vibrant wines that like to me are like expressive and not kind of buried. Yeah.
They're very expressive of their place.
Yeah, right? They're not buried in anything. And I think that's like site. I think that's vessel. I think it's all the choices that you get to make in winemaking. That we're so lucky to get to have this spice.
And your foundational bottle is the Gravels, right? Yes. Is that 100% Grenache, or do you guys blend a little?
It varies.
Depends, yeah.
Okay, but it's mostly it's known as a Grenache base.
Yes. Absolutely.
Got it.
Yeah, Grenache is always the core of that bottling, but it really depends on the vintage and what we have to work with from any given year. Like so, in 2022, Gravels was like 60% Grenache with some Carignan and Mourvèdre. 2023, it's 100% Grenache. Yeah. So, but it'll vary, kind of ebb and flow. Like 2020 was like Grenache and Syrah. So it kind of depends on what we feel is like the best interpretation of the vintage. Yeah. And then we'll make a number of the different vineyard designated Grenaches as well.
Got it. And the one thing that I want to go back to, because when your aunt presented you this amazing opportunity, did you always want to have your own winery? Like starting your own winery is, I can't imagine. It's very hard. It's like you said, it's insane. One thing I want to ask you, like, well, what were you thinking at the time, right? From the capital component, from like having to be in charge of everything. I know you guys both wore many hats, but was this something you wanted to do, or was this like a lightning strike from God, being like, do this? Was it?
Gosh, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like all winemakers at one point want to have their own wine, or is that not true? I don't know.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. And I think it was, for me specifically, it was, both of us, like we both have we've worn a lot of different hats in this industry. And having something that is your own is kind of our artistic expression, and our own kind of like offers us the freedom to be able to do what we want. And that was the compelling component for me, was, to work the grapes that we want, have a vineyard, design it, plant it, build it out the way that we really envision this, and kind of think about this not just about our lifetime, about like building some form of legacy that's able to be passed down, whether it's to family, whether it's to, our daughter, or if it's to, whoever else takes over the property. That was the idea behind it.
Got it. I love that long-term vision there. And part of that long-term vision is kind of the practices that you guys do. Are you guys, I don't know how many certifications are you guys organic? Are you guys biodynamic? Or do you guys kind of have your own, this is the Newfound way of farming?
It's all organic. It's all organic. It's not certified, and it's only purely not certified purely because we're a two-man team.
Yeah. Exactly. But it is organic. I was going to ask, our listeners are all over the place in terms of their knowledge. What is the most toxic substance that is used in the vineyard generally, right? What is it? I mean, is it, when people say spray, is it pesticides? Like what does this do to the vineyard or the resulting wine that you're like, I don't want to do this, right? Because like you said, 2-person team, the easiest way to do it would be maybe conventional farming, but why do you guys want to do organic?
Well, I will say too that like Matt coming from Fela, and I worked with the Mathiasons for like 7 years, and like it's kind of, there's no other option than to farm the way that we knew how, which is like we both have
If we had to farm conventionally, it'd be like we're not doing this.
That's really interesting to hear. Okay.
Yeah. It's really no point in doing it, because I do think on some levels, like, establishing new vineyards is still like, can be mildly invasive to a certain, to a local habitat. So we want to tread as lightly as possible. And like the property that we did have, like there was an existing vineyard on the site. We didn't have to do any timber harvest on the vineyard or on the property itself. And, whatever's going to allow us to have the lightest impact was always our guidance, and never once question using any type of shortcuts and conventional practices in the farming side. And when we purchased that property, it was that original 5 acres was,
nuclear.
Yeah. I don't know if there was like a product from Monsanto that they didn't use. And
on which on the property?
On the existing property. Yeah. So in Monsanto's, that's just it goes much deeper than that. But I think there was a lot of pre-emergence that were spraying the soil, and you could just tell that there was just a lot of it was dead in terms of microbial life within the property. So when we had torn that original 5 acres out, that went fallow for 6 years.
Wow, so you guys really had like a rejuvenation period for that piece of land. This story goes way deeper than the first bottle.
Yes, thank goodness we didn't wait to.
I know. I did. I thought. I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't do enough research, but I didn't know that. I thought you guys bought and the vineyard was already there and planted, and you guys just made a little tweaks. But you guys really went all in there. And who named the winery Newfound? Or was that?
I'm going to say Matt. It really was his bright light, but we were on the beach in Mexico actually, and we had been really sort of sussing out what the heck are we going to call what we're doing.
We just gotten engaged.
Yeah, we had just gotten engaged. That's right, and we.
It's one of the hardest things to do in a business, right? The same with mine. It's like one name. Which trademarks are out there already? Oh, Newfound is taken.
I know. Well, Naumann was taken, and but Matt's last name Naumann really roughly translates into like new man, and we were kind of like in that route, and we were.
I was reading a book, like just literally on the beach in Mexico, and the name Newfound just like popped out in the book, and I was like, oh wow, interesting. That could be an interesting name. There's no way that's going to be available, and sure enough, it was.
Oh my god,
Everything that we're doing is really, it's like this founded piece of land. We feel like we're breathing new life into it. It's like Newfound for us. It's the name is really great.
It just fit right away. You guys raced to the computer there. I could totally see. Well, cheers to Newfound. Cheers to this.
Wow.
This wine is unreal. Wow.
An outlier too. It's not Grenache.
Oh my god, this is a white Grenache. No. It's a Chenin Blanc. This is So good, so unique. And one other thing, I feel like the naming the wine, obviously very difficult, but also pricing wines as a business is just like, where do I land this? What I love about this wine is it's just like so accessible. I was just today, wines, it's outrageous. It's just like they are, wow. And I love California wine. I think Cabernet, the home is Napa. I love it. But like, wow, it's just, some of these prices are crazy.
Yeah,
so you guys like, I want to hear about that too, where you guys like, I want this wine to be for Psalms. I want this wine. Did you guys think about the audience at all or not really?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things is like, we also, when we started, we were making Semillon, and we're sort of like, the category is, I don't know, we really didn't want there to be like too many barriers to us being able to like showcase what we do.
Yeah.
And so we really wanted to price things accordingly.
I like that. No barriers to showing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's there. Most of our wines are $55 a bottle, and we feel like that's such a beautiful space. Like it's not excessive, and also I think it's like even if it's on a wine list, in a restaurant, and you have the markup, it's still like not not an inaccessible wine.
It's incredible. And you guys also are limited in production, or no? Is it how much are you producing in total?
2,500 cases.
2,500 cases.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think when we price the wines too, is like I think with both of us having experience in wholesale and in managing distribution.
Yeah, you guys know what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, and it's like if we can't sell out of everything direct, at least we have an opportunity to have a presence in the distribution market. And when you get above a certain price threshold, it gets a lot trickier.
Yeah.
So we want these wines to be fairly priced, and I think like great collectible wines do not have to have three figures.
No.
And fine wine doesn't need to have three figures. Yeah. And that for us was important.
And how? I mean, I know you do. You're doing marketing as well. You're with Trig as well.
Yeah.
But how? I mean, so many people I respect in wine know about your wine. It's just like, whoa, what are you doing out there? You guys are knocking on the right doors. I mean, in such short amount of time. The wine is doing the work, I think, because just this wine, I can tell what the rest of the wines will be at the quality level. But basically the question, I guess, would be, what was your reaction to sort of the release? Were you guys, scared to see what the reaction would be, or?
Yes, I think if you're not scared, I don't know. That's weird if you're not scared. I don't really know. I feel like Matt and I, like, this is kind
surprised that you still have hair. I
know.
Oh my God.
But it's gray now.
I'll never, literally the night before our release, I think I wrote our release 7 times, and I opened up 13 bottles. I didn't drink 13 bottles, but I was getting hyper neurotic, and I was like, that tastes off. And I would just go into the next bottle and the next bottle. And I'm like, we can't do this. We can't release these wines.
No, it was a funny story of Francis Ford Coppola was showing The Godfather to critics and reviewers, and he literally, I heard an interview, he hid under his bed, and he wouldn't get out from under his bed. He was so, because it's your baby a little bit like that. I mean, it must feel pretty crazy to release your own wine.
Yeah,
it's harder when it's for you. I think I feel like it's for me. It was so much easier to tell other people's stories. It just was, and then to tell ours was actually a little more challenging, not because we weren't living it, but because there is this sort of level of humility you want to keep, and you're like, am I really, this is really ours, this is crazy, and you're worried people aren't going to like it, and and then when people do, it's still, it's incredible.
It's a wine that also has a big, I guess, delta, or reaches a wide range of people, because Wine Spectator's rating a lot of wines, a lot of big names, a lot of small names, but you guys made the top 100 wines there, which was incredible. But you're also when you have the respect of everyone in the wine industry, because we have those wines, right, that the inner wine community is like, I don't drink that, and then the wine community, and then the wine consumer is just like, oh my god, I drink this big Cabernet with my ceviche and I love it, and the Psalms are just like, I'm not touching that. So there's this kind of disconnection. I spoke to Maya Dalla Valle about that, right, about these two circles, but with Dalla Valle or with this wine, you're seeing those two sides connect. So you've done that well. And in terms of, we talked about the Rhone Valley, right? What are some of those regions that have had a big influence on both of you? You talked about the south of France, but what are you drinking? What are you exploring outside of California? Both of you.
It's funny, Matt drinks, he leans more European when he purchases, and I'm always like, we gotta support like the domestic. So I'm always bringing the California wines to the table. So I'm a big fan of Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir from the beginning, from when we met. I love that. And I also I really, really love Verdicchio. So we've been drinking a lot of like the Vichy wines. Whenever we see it, we'll buy the wines from La Marca, and so. Yeah, for me, I really love like a crisp, fresh, white with personality.
Okay, nice. Yeah. But you like dipping.
I'm a little bit of a traditionalist. Yeah. Like, I mean, when it's not like Mediterranean varieties like Barolo Barbaresco, I'm just totally fascinated with Élevage and how they manage tannins and just make these really structured wines, but also make them so beautiful and elegantly.
Yeah.
It's more and more Tuscan wines like Sangiovese, kind of this new progressive style producer of Sangiovese, which I think has there's a lot of similarities to Grenache.
Yeah.
In terms of just making more of that pale, vibrant, elegant style of Sangiovese.
Yeah.
So I've been drinking more and more from Tuscany. I mean, probably major influences for us is, Domaine Trevelyan.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of this avant-garde producer back in the day that I think was so cool that he just found this piece of land. There's everybody plants Syrah and Grenache surrounding him, and he's like, "No, this is the Cabernet vineyard in the middle of the south of France, and I'm planting Syrah, and I'm going to blend the two together." And 40 or 50 years in, it's one of the more collected wines in the world, and I think it's just such a fascinating story about sticking to your vision. And every time we open those wines, you can really feel someone's vision behind that bottling, which is so very cool.
Yeah. Do you feel like winemakers in Napa are very fearless, or do you think in general they've gotten too complacent, right? Do you feel like you guys are really fearless there? Do you think a lot of that is happening? Maybe the future of Napa is happening maybe a little outside of Napa and then coming back in. Where do you feel Napa is right now in terms of fearlessness?
I'll answer that question.
Yes, you should.
Yeah.
I think there's a handful of people that are fearless, that are making very bold decisions, at some in very high places, in terms of new thought and just kind of a newer generation of new producers or winemakers. I think there's a lot of work to be done. Mm-hmm. And I think, but I also see that happening. Even actually, we went to a book reading a couple of weeks ago, Richard Mendelson, attorney in the Napa Valley, who works in wine law and kind of one of the foremost authorities on AVA's designation in wine law in America and in the world, read this beautiful excerpt from his book, and he was talking about the stylistic changes over the years and the kind of the arc of style change over the years. And I really like that he addressed that at this point in time, things have started to kind of correct themselves back to more making nuanced styles.
Yeah.
And even producers that you wouldn't expect making these styles. So I think that's I think at least for me, it's whether it's right or wrong, it's those are the types of wines I drink are more nuanced style wines. And I think that's really great. And I think we're going to see more and more kind of creative thought coming into this region as a result.
And it has to. I mean, people have to adapt. I just interviewed the wine director at Boyade in Miami, a great restaurant. And I asked her, right, these headlines, these panic headlines, the industry, the global industry, I'm not just talking about California. And she's like, that's all just nonsense, because there will always be room for wine with a story to tell. And I feel like these wines right now are really having a great moment, because like I said, I came to them because one of our listeners really loves their wines. And like I said, one of my listeners, but also people I've talked to, like Aaron Romano and critics as well. So there's a lot of room for these types of wines. Going back to, like you said, the book reading that you said, I want to go back to the Sierra Foothills. Is this an AVA, or are you guys out in the middle of,
It's El Dorado County. It's not, so we're just we're just outside of the Fairplay region.
Okay.
Which is a sub AVA.
Is it like Amador County, or
just north El Dorado?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like
Amador. No, but near there. Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 20,
okay, that's
20
what I was
minutes.
gonna say. Okay, 20 minutes.
Yeah, like 4 miles, like as a crow flies, but given the kind of windy,
got it,
kind of hilly, kind of rugged area, it's about 20 to 25 minutes to the county line. And it's kind of distinctly different. Like when you cross into Amador or you cross over into El Dorado from one county to the next, El Dorado has more of these kind of like salt and pepper, like granite outcroppings, and Amador has more of that red volcanic clay soil, and so you can almost see it when you drive across the county. It's pretty interesting pretty interesting to witness that.
Is it close? Are we close to there? What's the
2.5 hours?
2.5 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
So
we get it's
we're in. Are we in the tasting room right now?
right now.
So we're in St. Helena here. Wow. So it's you guys are just two, and going out there. It's not too easy, right? But you figure it out.
Yeah. A lot of time in the car.
You bring a sleeping bag. Just
there's a house. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's good.
But there's a lot of time spent in traffic.
Yeah. No. So I'm sure. But with real estate, like your aunt was saying, there was a house there as well. It wasn't just
Bonded Winery.
Bonded
was there.
Winery.
So we were fortunate. With the Calder fire, we needed to evacuate, so that's why we moved production to Fela. But,
Got it.
Yeah, 2021 fire.
And it was 2021.
The big
There was a big fire out there called the Caldor fire.
Yeah.
Massive. And it just wasn't worth the risk of having the wines on site out there, given the fact that our lives are in Napa. Like this is where we live, and kind of we've made our career here and family and everything. So to have the wines closer here made more sense.
And you guys have one daughter then?
Yes.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just had a baby 3 months ago.
Congratulations.
Baby girl, baby Nina. Yeah. She's I miss her a lot, but I'll see her tomorrow morning. But that's so cute. She's younger. She's involved in the wine operations at all?
As they get older.
As they get older, right? Yeah. That's the good thing.
She was younger.
Oh my God. No, my family, you put them to work, or you put them to work right away.
Yeah.
No, that's so. And 40 acres is a good. It's a good chunk. How much? Can you give me a picture of how it's planted? It's not all Grenache, right? You have, because I know you guys also source from different vineyards.
Yeah.
Right?
So far, everything that we have produce that is like bottled and out in the world has been from these relationships we have with growers. So we purchased because 2024, and we got a very scant amount of fruit that year.
That's from relationships with with
different grape growers.
Okay.
Yeah, like 8 to 10, kind of any given vintage.
Like this is Henry's Vineyard for the 23.
Yeah, so that's Henry's Vineyard. That's a vineyard grown by a good friend. His name is Josh Ansey. He has a property over in Pope Valley. Just in the eastern side of Howell Mountain, and Josh has been a source for us. There's a number of growers that we work with, all kind of more around like Napa, Sonoma, Mendocino, in this kind of short radius. And then we have one site outside of the vineyard, outside of the estate vineyard in Amador, from Ann Kramer, who's great, one of the great growers.
Amazing. And then so the 40 acres are that you guys have are Grenache then, or
Grenache and Syrah, and it's of that. So there are 16 plantable acres. We tore out the existing 5 that were on the property. That went fallow, and then the adjacent kind of open part of the property we planted, and that had never been planted. So that was all virgin soil.
Okay.
And that's 6 acres. So it's 6 acres planted. We tore out 5, but there's actually 9 more acres that are plantable on the site, which we haven't done yet.
Okay. Talk to me about virgin soil versus soil that what vineyard was on. Like, is virgin soil better to plant a new vineyard versus a vineyard where a vineyard was there?
That's a good question.
I know. I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to that.
Because sometimes I see vineyards that are getting ready for new plantings, and winery was never there. But I always think like, I don't know, is that?
I'd say it's a lot riskier to plant virgin soil, purely if you've never tasted anything off of the property.
That's true.
You don't know, like you don't know what's gonna happen. And
What does a soil study look like? Like I'm sure you've right, like what's under here, or
yeah, you run all of your nutrients and just to check them, nematode populations, you kind of look at everything to make sure that this is a plantable site, and if it's viable from a potential vineyard site. And then for us, like, knowing that, yeah, there's real potential here. Then at least specific to that place, it was just a place that just like, this needs a vineyard on it.
yeah.
It spoke to me in a way that I'm like, I have to taste wine from this property.
Yeah.
So, and what was so compelling about that site and what's so compelling about the Sierra Foothills in general is soil conditions they're obviously they're varied and diverse all throughout California. But the Foothills has granite, and it's pure granite. Mm-hmm. And that is really interesting. And Granite and Grenache have a really beautiful symbiotic
that's a match
relationship.
Made in heaven. That's like steak and red wine right there. I see Granite, Grenache. That's it. Boom. Yeah. Exactly.
And you can taste it. Like it's one of those. To me, it's one of those few places in California where like minerality is actually like real. Like you can really, it shapes the wine. It gives the wine texture in ways that I think is really unique to that particular region, that particular place.
Yeah.
And I love the impact on the Grenache that we've made there. So I'm really excited for the potential.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, as the winery grows, right? Well, how does this taste with 10 years on it, right? How does this,
wow.
right? Because what was the first vintage? It was 21.
From the 24.
Oh, 24. Okay.
Yeah.
From the property.
From the property. Okay. That's going to be really cool
Yeah.
to see how that unfolds. Now, in terms of what's really cool about California is the microclimate right here. It's all sunny. Then I go over to Fort Ross, Seaview, or Sonoma, and I'm covered in clouds and mist.
Yeah.
So you have the Mayacamas Mountains, Valley, Vaca Mountains, and you guys are further in from the Vaca Mountains, or no?
Further east, yeah, about 60 miles, 60 miles roughly as the crow flies, east of the Vaca, because east side of the Central Valley.
Okay.
So like even further east than.
Even further east than Lodi.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Like another hour east of Lodi.
And are you a little bit of altitude over Lodi then?
2,200 feet.
Oh, 2,200 feet. You're like Pritchard Hill height a little
Yeah,
bit.
exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you're really having, I don't know, maybe a good diurnal range, maybe protection from heat years like 22, maybe like
It's quite extreme there.
It's quite extreme.
It's quite extreme. It's almost strangely continental because the winters get cold. And because we're in the foothills, we're in the Sierras, so it's not uncommon to have snow.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Okay.
So, and
Must be really cool
like
to
2023 was a vintage. I wasn't tracking how many inches of snow we got up there, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone said we got 10 to 15 inches of total like snow accumulation during the winter. So it can get pretty cold, which is great. And the vines really do go through true dormancy, and.
Say true dormancy, like they really like.
Yeah, they go to sleep.
They're
hibernating.
They're hibernating.
And on the flip side, the summers are dry. So where we are in Napa, or if you're over in Sonoma, when you're on the coastal part of the state, you have a lot of the moisture. You have the marine layer that impacts, typically UV radiation that will impact the ripening curve of the fruit itself, or at least like shield or slow down the ripening curve of the fruit. In the foothills, it is this very short, compact, extreme, dry growing season.
Yeah.
So if we have 120 days, like if I take a Grenache vineyard in the Napa Valley where you have 120 growing days in the Napa Valley, you might have 105 in the Sierra Foothills.
Okay, got it.
Because it's this really short, intense window.
And radiation, maybe the solar.
Yeah, because it's like literally bluebird, like not a cloud in the sky from May 15th to September 15th.
Wow, and water isn't really an issue because you guys have. Does snow help?
There's good water, like the accumulation.
Do you guys irrigate at all, or
no? It's a dry farm vineyard. I mean, it was established in the first 3 years you irrigate to establish, but then after that, it's been dry farms.
For our listeners, what does dry farm mean? Right? Well, people are like, yeah, it's a dry farm, but it's basically you're not irrigating. You're relying on the storage of water under the vineyard.
Exactly.
That's basically what it would. Okay.
Exactly.
So you rely on those January, February rains to store the water.
Exactly.
But it's a little risky. I know Dominus does the similar thing as well. But like, is that also part of your philosophy, or?
Yes.
Or is it kind of like,
It's
guys,
important.
irrigation is too expensive, we're gonna cut that off as a new business, or what's
No.
No,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I love it when you talk about dry farmed vineyards. Go for it.
I say that to my wife as well. I love it when you talk about. It turns me on. I just like.
Got to talk about dry farm vineyards more often. I think dry farming is kind of the great equalizer with vineyards, and it was interesting. I don't want to get ahead of myself in this answer. Actually, I'll get to that point, but there's enough science behind the rootstocks that are available to us, and dry farming to me is like it puts you in touch with your site in a way that there's no margin for error. Like you're picking decision, like you might have 24 hours to 48 hours, like, and that's it. But it's typically within a 24-hour window of time when you have to pick, because sugars can spike. You can't rely on irrigation. And irrigation on some levels, like, well, necessary. And I'm not saying like all irrigated vineyards are bad. We source from irrigated vineyards, but from an idealist perspective, dry farm vineyards to me are really the greatest representation of that site, because you can't manipulate a growing season with irrigation. Yeah, you have to fully understand, fully engage with that site. In order to be in rhythm with it. And what's interesting, we have a great distributor in New York, and we're one of just a handful of U.S. producers in the book.
Who are you guys with in New York?
Grand Cru Selections.
Grand Cru Selections, great. Yeah.
Another reason why we're good partners.
Yeah, and every year that they'll
crucial.
We'll do their big grand tasting, and after the tasting, it's dinner with all the producers that are in town, and it's always great. And we're sitting with Burgundians and a lot of the Italian producers, and I was sitting next to Gianpaolo Venica from Venica and Venica in Collio, and I just asked him this question. The thought didn't even occur to me, which I should have known. I was like, I had asked him, well, it was, I think this is 2024. I was like, when did you finish harvest? He's like, probably right around like September 1st, ish or so. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, how much earlier has harvest been, like, over the arc of your career over the last like 30 years? And he's like, we used to harvest probably right, last week of September, but now we're like somewhere between like August 15th and the end of September, or in the end of October, in the end of August. And it occurred to me, I was like, oh, well, they're not irrigating their vineyards. So that is a real true litmus test of what climate change actually can do. Yeah. In terms of
well, he said, when do they harvest? He said that
currently like August 15th to September 1st. Yeah. Versus what was like last week of September-ish.
Okay.
So a full 30 days in advance. Yeah. But without the aid or use of any form of irrigation, because by law, like, they can't have it. Yeah. So that's true. It's like an emergency. Yeah. Exactly. But then you look at places like South Africa, and who has very, very little rainfall, and they have some of the best old vine Grenache, Chenin Blanc, Semillon vineyards in the world. So there's ways to be able to adapt, and this all kind of goes back to like I think just philosophically in terms of like what our impact on the site is like you can have a light touch, and not everything has to be whether it's densely planted or like overly thought out in terms of planting VSP or using all these different forms. There's a way to be able to like establish a site that is not so cost and labor intensive, but still do it in a very pure and clean way that is economical and also practical.
Yeah.
And for us, at the end of the day, it's like they talk about sustainability, which is like such a buzzword and kind of an annoying term, and we do like, but sustainability for us was like, can we do this by ourselves? Yeah. and that was a really important thing. Like if like there's a labor shortage, if there's anything that happens, like, can I farm this vineyard?
That's
on my
true.
own?
Like, yeah, if a truth, can we do it on our own? If it's sort of like if the owner of a company, can I do the faxing? Can I work the faxing machine if I have to do everything on my own? But with like you said, the dry farming, establishing the vineyard, you have to irrigate a little bit, right? For the small vines for the first 3 years, and then after that, it's like, okay, I'm not giving any more milk to the baby. The baby's gonna learn how to wait 2 more hours, or just learn how to eat real food. But so like you said, it expresses the place to you in the most authentic way possible. And then in terms of, like you said, Grand Cru selections, going back to having good partners, is Newfound, is it because it's a Grenache bread, is it very hard to sell? Like, what do you hear from your partners? Is it like, guys, no one knows what I'm selling? Like, it's not Napa, it's not Cabernet. Like, oh, can you plant a little bit of Cabernet? Like, what's the market telling you about Newfound?
I mean, I feel really, really very enthusiastic about the people that we're partners with, and about the reception that we've had in the U.S. and also, in overseas, like in the U.K.
Oh, you export a little bit?
We do. Well? I mean, okay. Jancis has chosen us as her wine of the week. And
oh my God!
I know.
Amazing.
We felt it's really like such an honor to have had that, and then to just to be able to share the wines throughout the U.S. with people that like get it. And I think we both trained for this, and so we have worked with a lot of distributors, and so it was really important to us to have a partnership with people that really understood what we were doing, were really excited about it, and then they could go out and spread the word just as if we were there, and so I think
placing trust.
We've been so fortunate. I mean, they're like, we've got a lot, Minnesota, for instance, and and like Oxford, Mississippi, places you would not imagine.
Do you travel a lot to?
We will start. We've been sort of slow rolling. We need to travel more, but it's just the two of us. I mean, I think we've been so fortunate. I think not only the partnerships that we have throughout the country, but the partnerships we have here too. It's I think this industry is so special because you have our contemporaries, not everyone, but most people are really lifting each other up and saying, like, you like this, check this out, you really enjoy this, check out Di Costanzo. And I just think that is like one of the best things about this industry, that is, there is this like,
every time you try to quit it just pulls you back. Like, I was gonna, because I've thought about it too. It's not easy to make it in this industry, or to like make a good living out of it. Did you guys, since 2016, did you guys ever have like a night or a day where you guys like, we have to close this up and my first dumb question of the interview.
No, never.
But
we're living the dream.
No, it was always good. But it take me through like just, I guess, one night where you guys did it, test you to your limit. What was it? Was it the replanting of the?
Oh my God. Well, a lot of the weather, like the landslide, the fire, we've had to make a lot of pivots that we should expect working with agriculture, but
that's the thing. You always expect it, but when it happens, you're like, God, how do I keep going?
It's a hard business. I mean, in general, like and I think probably it's hard when it's like, this is our livelihood, and there's so many unforeseen events that you just can't predict, with Mother Nature in control of so many things. And I think there's, but at the end of the day, like, honestly, I'd probably be lying if I said like maybe 40 to 50% of the time I'm like, why do we do this? I just kind of wish I just had a corporate job. But then there's the other side of it, which is like, it's when people get real enjoyment out of like the wines that you made, I'm just like,
That's it.
I
That's kind
can't
of
believe that somebody
Yeah, it's so
enjoys
cool.
something that we put together. That is like, it's almost like it's a miracle to me, but it's also like a big accomplishment, and it's what kind of keeps us like going.
Yeah, what a blessing that we work in this industry, and on your website, which is beautiful. I love that film picture that you guys have of the bird. Like,
He's so excited that you said that.
I know. I love that picture. I have my film camera I got in Japan, and we use it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So I love when people use film. But on the website, the actual, I don't know who wrote the copy too, but it's also very, very well written, and it really is raw and true in your words. But like you said, what stresses you out sometimes is obviously the weather, the things you can't control. But that's sort of the identity of these wines. These identity of the wines are like, we're just there to react. I think that's what one of the texts said. We're just there to react to what Mother Nature does. We're not there to be really intrusive and being like, okay, this is how you're gonna behave. No, and the wine that we're drinking right now is behaving the way it should. And it's like, I'm a parent, but I'm gonna, let my aimless child figure it out. So I think it's really part of what you guys are doing here. And I hope many people follow in your footsteps and hear this and be like, you know what, I'm gonna do it too. Maybe you wouldn't recommend it.
No, just give us a call first.
Give them a call. But how do people get your wines then? Is it through, do you have to sign up on the website, or do retailers carry this? Like
Both, yeah,
Okay,
both of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because you have distribution, so it's not all DTC.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got wonderful retailers, like a lot of really great retailers and restaurants.
Yeah.
And then the website as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mailing list for like the vineyard designates is what we typically will, we'll send out multiple offers throughout the year, and then we're like a handful of like the major markets in the U.S.
Great. I hope in Miami. I hope more in Miami, because
Yeah,
Miami's
we need
wine
to,
scene is
we need to
really.
really.
Yeah. Soon, count me as a big supporter now, and yeah, I'm really happy to see like these small pockets of great California producers really expressing the place. So thank you both for making these incredible wines. And you guys are just vibrant. I don't know. You guys seem like a really, really good team. And this is just the beginning, which is awesome. I mean, hopefully you guys can pass it down and see the fruits of your labor. We're so early. This is just the start.
Yeah.
Guys, Newfound Wines right here. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Cheers.